Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2312. Be prepared to be inspired and enlightened too.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana, with a very special guest by the name of Tiffanie Hartenstein. Tiffanie, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Thank you. And yes, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll have some fun. Now, what I should say, instead of releasing the clutch, is turn on the lights. And your listeners will understand that in just a minute. But let me give Tiffanie an introduction here, and then you'll understand why I just said that. Tiffanie Hartenstein is the CEO and co-founder of Oracle Lighting and directly manages the day-to-day operations. Since 1999, Oracle Lighting has developed custom lighting solutions for a wide variety of vehicles and applications. Tiffanie and her talented team have grown Oracle Lighting both in size and revenue for over 15 years. They've helped Oracle Lighting make 9 consecutive appearances on the Inc Magazine's Inc 500 list, which highlights the nation's fastest growing small businesses. Congratulations. In 2021, Oracle Lighting received SEMA's Manufacturer of the Year award, as well as being recognized as the #1 fastest growing company in the greater New Orleans metro area. Wow, you guys are rocking it. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our sponsors. They put the gas in the tanks here, so give them a little love. Buckle up, turn on the lights. We'll be right back. Years ago, when it was time to renew my collector car insurance policy, my carrier's rates went up. Way up, but my usage was the same and I never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. So what's with that? So I turned to American Collectors Insurance. Has your collector car insurance recently raised your rates for no good reason? Tired of paying an annual membership fee? Then it's time to look around and call American Collectors Insurance. I shopped around, I asked friends for recommendations, and found a winner that I can trust. And boy, I'm glad I did. I saved hundreds of dollars every year and slept better at night knowing my baby was properly insured. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting vehicles since 1976. They provided me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by their history of taking great care of their clients. What could be better than that? So give them a call and ask for a quote today. 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. And protect the ones you love like I did with American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Did you know that less than 3% of all automotive technicians in the U.S. are women? You may not be surprised, but you should be concerned because our country is facing a massive technician shortage right now. Skilled, qualified techs are in high demand, and we need young men and women to consider these viable career paths. Cars Yeah knows that women make great techs. I've interviewed a lot of them, so we support the nonprofit Tech Force Foundation and its Women Tech Rocks initiative to ensure women see themselves in this profession, the industry, and the workforce. Learn more at techforce.org today. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com. So Tiffanie, we are back. This is pretty amazing. I mean, the successes that your company has had over time. But I want to go back first a little bit with you and learn, how did you get into this business, being a CEO and co-founder? This is very cool. So give us a little bit of a background on who you are, what you do, and then we're going to dive into Oracle Lighting and all the cool things that you guys illuminate the world with.
Sure. Thank you. So our business, we incorporated in 2005, right around the time of Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
Prior to that, the automotive industry was more of a hobby for my husband, who is my co-founder and partners. And he's really into the designs around the product. So he's running the product development and all of the R&D. So it started out as a hobby for him. Hurricane Katrina hit, and we had to relocate from New Orleans and lost our jobs, and we're young at the time and trying to figure out what are we going to do next. And the only little revenue stream we had was this hobby that he was, doing things on the weekend and kind of tinkering with headlights and going to car shows. And we're like, we have to put it all into this and see what we can do and try to grow this, because we had no other options. And thankfully, we made smart decisions along the way. I mean, it was, growing a business from nothing.
It's very hard.
It's not an easy thing,
Yes.
especially when you're relocated from your family and you don't have any of your things.
Yeah.
After that, once we were able to come back to New Orleans, we really just kind of all in started building, and things were growing very organically and very rapidly. And we just were all in. I mean, our lives were just devoted to this. It was like having a baby.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it was the late nights and the early mornings and losing sleep. And thankfully, we had a lot of really good employees along the way that you saw our vision and helped us. And some of them are still with us today. And so we've grown a lot from there and into something that I'm super proud of now, where it is. A lot of growing pains, and we've made a lot of poor decisions, but we've made more good decisions than bad decisions along the way.
This is an amazing story. Kind of like the phoenix coming out of the ashes, but with the illuminating eyes. And I'm sorry, listeners, for all the puns today, but it's too fun and too easy with what they're doing. And I'll put links to their website, but they're easy to find, Oracle Lighting. And you'll see what I'm talking about, because you guys have developed a very cool line of lighting products. And I just want to, first of all, pat you both on the back for what you came out of. Oh my gosh. But this is a great story about a side hustle that becomes a main real business, a very successful business through a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, which no doubt you had all of those with Hurricane Katrina. But I didn't know that backstory about you, and it's just awesome. And having built businesses myself, I know how hard it is, and you're right. It's like having children. It's a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of fear and a lot of unknowns. However, what you've done has been absolutely amazing. Can you kind of talk a little bit about the idea behind what you've grown? Because when I go to your website, and when I was first introduced to you by the great people at Con Media, I went, oh my goodness, look at all these different products. Very innovative thought process. And your husband obviously is a very creative guy to do that side of the business. Can you walk us through this evolution of why lighting, and then why lighting is important? And then maybe you can talk a little bit too about the wide variety of products that you offer, because it's really some neat stuff.
Sure. So at the time when the business was starting, my husband was going to different car shows. A lot of them were night shows, and people were trying to find a way to make their vehicle stand out. At the time, we were really the only ones in the market focusing on lighting. And it was kind of just like this very easy flow into this niche industry, or niche part of the industry, where people were trying to tell us, like, you need to add other products to your line. Like, you can't just sell lighting. And we're like, no, we're gonna focus on this, and we're gonna be really good at it.
That's a good pun. Focus. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, innovation has always been at our core in what we're doing. And thankfully, our research and development department has such a great creative eye for what's coming next. And we can start working on things to be first to market and have things developed that are unique, that haven't been seen before, which is, I think, one of our huge strong points in what we're doing. And, it's like the evolution of the vehicles for us and different things that are popular. And, it was muscle cars for a long time. And then, Jeep's taken over the market so much recently, and then the Bronco coming onto the scene. And now we're trying to focus on some new products related to the truck and SUV side. So, and then we're seeing some muscle cars kind of predicting that's coming back. So we're focusing on that for all of our new products that we've got coming up. But it's been quite an evolution of product line for us, and we try to make sure that we are not getting pinholed into something that it works for a long time, but then all of a sudden the market shifted and we haven't. So we're trying to make sure that we allow ourselves enough flexibility to move with the market and move quickly.
Very wise. The cool thing, I love lighting because lighting in the old days back, and I'm an old guy, so I've been around for a long time. I remember when you could get these special bulbs, halogen lighting you could put in your headlights, which when I was living in California at the time were illegal because they were too bright, but they were the cool thing to have. And then they went to kind of blue stuff. And then you take of manufacturers like BMW, we've had lots in our family, and the halo lights, and going, oh, that's an interesting idea. And then you get into the upgraded lightings of today and some of the things, say, in Porsches or all of the cool stuff that's available with LED. And you guys provide lights for not just the headlights on cars, but different aspects within the car and fiber optic kits and wheel rings. And I mean, all sorts of really, really fun stuff. So I think you've done a wonderful job of expanding and broadening into all these different sectors. And you said something I believe in, having been around a long time, is important. Things evolve and different cars come into marketplace. And that begs me to ask the question is, do you work with OEMs to determine what's coming? Are you providing lights for OEMs? Or are you primarily a direct-to-consumer product supplier?
So we do some OE products. We have a couple that we're working on right now that we have an NDA with, so I can't share too much on that. But for the most part, we're paying attention to industry trends, and we try to attend a lot of consumer shows and just be aware of what the big OEs have in the work. So we don't have any kind of direct relationship where they're giving us info on the side, telling us, we see the same thing that everybody else can see. But I think we just do a good job in looking at that lineup and just what the consumer is into at the time to figure out what do we need to develop. And a lot of times it's something that doesn't exist. So it's like, how do you come up with something that just doesn't even exist? Right, it's like it's the concept behind it, and to be successful with that when you come up with a new idea. There's a lot of risk in that. And, I think a lot of people don't see that, especially if you're not a business owner, to put a lot of time and money into a new product that hasn't existed. You don't know for sure if consumers are going to like it. You don't know how they're going to respond to it. So there's a lot of risk involved in that. But I think thankfully our risk tolerance is pretty high.
Well, yeah.
And we have a lot of faith in what we're doing.
Having been born out of a hurricane, maybe that added to the blood, sweat, and tears and the strength behind it. You also have some really cool things, shop lights, flashlights, LED power strips. You've got yacht lettering. I mean, you really hit a lot of different things. And I know that being a more mature guy, I hate to call myself old, but more mature guy, lighting is so important around the shop too, and being able to see things better because just the cones and rods change when you age, and being able to see things better. Motorcycle lighting. I mean, you guys cover the gamut. I think this is so cool. Now, I beg to ask, because lots of times working with your spouse can be a bit of a challenge, perhaps, because work never ends. I mean, you bring it home, it's week, everything is combined. How do you and your husband kind of balance out your life there so that there is some non-working time and just some time to relax and enjoy? Do you dedicate specific times, or is that just vacations, or running a business, do you even have time for a vacation?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most popular questions that I get when people meet us, because we do travel a lot together, and a lot of the meetings we're both there. It really works very easy for us. It's a very easy flow, and we do different things within the business. So we're not stepping on each other's toes. I have faith and trust in what he's doing, and he also has the same for me and the decisions I'm making for the business. And then also the second part to that is that both of our parents also ran businesses together. So we both grew up in a household with parents that worked together. Yeah. So it was what we saw, and it worked.
It's awesome. That's really great. You mentioned parents, and that begs me to ask the question I asked all my guests, and that's about driving inspirations, what I call influential people or mentors in your life that made a big difference and really helped you. Is there somebody like that in your life?
Yeah, I would say my dad. He was a captain in the New Orleans Fire Department. And then, in addition to that, he and my mom ran a business in the French Quarter. So he would work 2 days on, 2 days off. And then when he was off from the fire department, he would be, working with my mom at their store. And there was always just this, fearless grit that he had in what he was doing. And he never brought any of, I mean, I can imagine as a fireman, the things that you see or you do. I mean, you have to be fearless, right?
Yeah.
And a little crazy, probably.
Yeah, brave, super brave for sure.
I just recently started asking him questions about different things that he experienced in fires that they would go to. And he never, the stories he's telling me now, it's like, I feel it now in my heart, like, man, that's heavy. He carried that for a long time and the things that he saw, but he never brought that home. For me as a little kid, I never saw any worry on his face or any of the pain and the things that he experienced through that. So I think, for me, it's looking up to him, and he just did it. He just did what he had to do, and there was a huge work ethic, but never complaining about it. So I think for me, that was a great lesson to get to have someone in my life like that.
Well, you are very fortunate, and my hat's off to him. First responders are the heroes of the world, and I really don't believe people give them enough credit, not only for the bravery and what they do, walking into situations that the rest of us want to walk away from or look away from, but also the ability to separate that part of his life with his family life. And I have a good friend who is a neurosurgeon, pediatric neurosurgeon. And he operates on babies and that are in severe trauma. And I said, how do you do that? And he's a funny guy. He just said, well, I'm just a mechanic. He said, I go in, I do my job and close the lid. And I try to think of my job as that, because you get consumed so quickly in the personal side, and you have to be very careful to, you have to have bedside manner, but it's the same with a firefighter, a police officer, whomever is, or a soldier on the battlefield. Incredible people. So you're very, very, very fortunate, but I can tell that you know that. How would you advise, let's say, a young person or even somebody who's changing their career path to go into their business for themselves? What you guys did with you and your husband with this side hustle, creating this tremendous business. How would you advise somebody that wants to or thinks they're going to step into maybe what looks like a glamorous world from the outside, but there's a few challenges with it for sure. How would you advise somebody?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, my first, in saying it in a nice way, because you're not trying to crush anybody's dreams, right? You want to encourage people all the time. To set the tone of, this looks glamorous and this looks fabulous to work for yourself, and yeah, there are tons of benefits, but it's not easy. There's a heaviness that comes with running your own business, and there's a lot of risk, and people don't realize how much you put on the table to run a business. And it's not just like the startup money, but it's your whole life. At any moment, you could be responsible for someone in your company making a bad decision and, end up hurting you, and they just, it's not their business. Yeah. They don't have ownership in it.
Right.
So understanding that part of the thought process and really just being okay with it, if you can have that thought process of, okay, I understand really what this is going to take before making that decision. Because there's a lot of great career choices that are not in that ownership level, but, it takes the right person. And I think that we don't talk about encouraging the entrepreneur lifestyle enough in schools, because I do think that it is a good career choice for the right person. And if we are able to train that in students and teach them all of the different things that I didn't learn, I had to figure it out as I was going, then there are probably a lot of mistakes that I could have avoided had this been talked about as a career choice more when I was younger.
Oh boy, you hit a nerve with me in that one. I believe it. I've asked that same question over the decades. And I had a friend tell me once, he said, Mark, you need to understand that the public education system is designed to create worker bees. And I went, what? He said, yeah, that's what it was always designed for. And sadly, what it continues to be in many cases. The bell rings, sit down, be quiet, do your work. The bell rings, get up, eat your lunch. The bell rings, sit down, be quiet, do your work. And I know some schools, and I don't mean to beat on schools too much here, but some schools are trying to break out of that. But many schools are designed just for that, and that's what the entire education system was built just 100 years ago to do. But at the same time, having run businesses, there are people that don't want that risk. They like to go to work hard, and that's great, and go home and not think about it. But for those of us who have our own businesses, that's usually not an option. It's hard to separate those things. Yeah, but
I agree with you. And we need both. I mean, there has to be someone at every level within the business for the business to run. So it's not about swinging the pendulum all the way in one direction. But I agree with you about the schools. I recently just took both my kids out of school, and they're homeschooled in a little micro pod with some other families.
Yeah.
And we've hired a teacher, and we have strategically selected their curriculum to include lessons on entrepreneurship, and they get to visit other businesses and talk to different people in different careers. And so I agree with you on that.
Wow. I'm going to put you in touch with my kids because they want to do the same thing with their children, and how they're working on how to structure all that. My son doesn't even have kids yet, but they'd like to soon, hopefully. And we've got one grandson and a granddaughter coming. And the schools have changed a lot, and there's a lot of different opportunities now for people. So my hat's off to you for doing that. That's not easy either on top of running a business, but my hat's off to you for doing that. I think it's a very, very wise decision. Hey, let's talk a little bit about challenges, which is a silly thing to ask an entrepreneur, but I'd love for you to share one specific challenge that you and your husband perhaps faced in this business, or this could be a life challenge. But more importantly, what did that challenge teach you? So you can look back and say, okay, it wasn't so much fun, but I'm glad I went through it because it was a really valuable lesson.
I think the biggest challenge for me, first thing that comes to mind, is the balance of being a mother and not just a business owner, but having a career. So whatever your career is. I see the struggle with the other women that work for me and in other groups that I'm in. This is something that we talk about, but isn't necessarily talked about enough. It's a struggle to find the balance. And I think as women, and not that men don't have this to, work through the same balance, I think women generally carry more of a guilt when they're doing more of one thing and less of another, and they feel guilty that they're not at home more, or they'll feel guilty that they didn't get more done at work because their child was sick that day. And it affects your mental health a little bit, to not feel like you're ever balancing things. And I think there is no balance. I try not to be like, oh, I don't have a good work-life balance. I try not to look at that. I try to give my time where it's needed, because we'll never find a balance. But that for me is a challenge. I don't have a solution to share, but I think sometimes just hearing that other women are going through the same thing, there is some comfort there that, hey, we can do this. There are successful women that are raising successful children. It makes you feel a little bit better when you can meet someone going through the same thing.
It probably already exists, but that'd be a great podcast topic. And there's probably some women out there doing this, how to do that balance and talking with other people and strategies and things. The great thing about today is the internet has so many resources. And maybe because my daughter had a baby, I get these things that show up on Instagram feeds and so forth that are just techniques and tricks and tips about, running your life and working with children. I go, man, I wish I'd known that when our kids were little. What a simple little thing, but I never thought of it because you're just so consumed working all the time and trying to make that family work together. But yeah, and I would agree with you. I'm just talking for myself, but for men they get up, they go off to work, and they do their thing. And if women are even at home, be an at-home mom, there's all these different things involved. My wife went through it when she left her career as an engineer to stay home with her kids, and it took her a while to adjust to that because she was used to going in. She's a super smart lady, mathematical mind, she was a civil engineer, and to be home and not have that interaction, not only with her work and what she'd studied in college and done, but also with other adults. So I get home and she's like, I got to talk to an adult, say some adult things, It was, I wasn't understanding it very well. I'm like, hey, I'm tired. I'm worn out. I don't want to talk about anything. I've been talking with adults all day. I'm sick of adults. Yeah. I just want to play with the kids. So yeah, it's a tough balance for sure. So again, all of you women and you, Tiffanie, doing this, my hat's off to you because it is not easy. That's for sure.
Well, thank you.
Bucket list ideas. I know there's things you can't talk about of where your business is going, but if you could give us a little bit of a perspective in the next few years of how you'd like to grow the brand, do you have some things you could share with us of where you want to go?
Yeah. So our 5-year goal, at least the goal that I'm setting, I would like to see 60% growth for our business within the next 5 years. And we've always been growing, so growth is not a new thing for us, I think. But now, the bigger you grow, the harder it is to achieve these bigger numbers in growth. But I think we absolutely can achieve that within the next 5 years. But I would like to do it in a strategic way where we're building sustainable systems within the operation that it makes it easier for us to get there. So I don't want to, grow ourselves into failure. It's not about just discounting everything and making some huge sales. I really want to be able to build the brand to the level that I see it and have it show up in the market in new places where we might not be yet or in bigger ways. So I'm focused on growth for the business. And, for me personally, when I think of bucket list, I think of all the things that I want to do. And I love to travel. So for me, I'm building a life that will allow me to have the experiences that I want and that I'm able to take those opportunities and stepping away from the business, even if it's just for a few days, to go somewhere with the family, but know that the business is still running and operating without me because I have great employees in place and I trust them and because our systems are flowing and there's less likelihood of them needing me for any kind of fires. So that's kind of what my focus is right now. So it's building all of these things in the back end of the operation. I know we've got new great products coming out. Not concerned on that. So for me, it's about making sure that we can sustain the growth.
Oh, awesome goals. Absolutely. Have you ever heard of a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you read that?
I haven't read it, but I do know of this book.
I'll tell you, it was years ago, decades ago. That book changed the course of a business I was part of. Tremendous. And it touches on many of the things you just talked about. It'd be worth picking up and reading. I know we're going to talk about books in a minute, but that one really changed the way we thought about things. I can tell you're already on that path. So bravo to you for that. But
awesome. I'll check it out.
Give that one a try. So I imagine you're a bit of a car gal. You're married to a guy who sounds like he's a car guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
So is there a special vehicle in your life that maybe you could share a story with us?
Yes. So I think my first interaction really with a vehicle that I remember that I thought was really cool at the time, and I was young. My grandfather, who is from the Philippines, he joined the Navy during World War II when they were enlisting Filipinos and gave them citizenship here. And he started a little newsstand in the French Quarter that I mentioned earlier where my parents worked. And he had a 1976 red Bronco.
Cool.
And everyone knew this car in the French Quarter, all of the locals, all of the people that worked around there. And I remember driving with him. My parents would work there in the afternoon, so I spent a lot of time with him. And he would drive me to and from to go meet my parents, and I get to ride in this Bronco. I just remember it so vividly. I remember how the seats felt. And, we had to have the windows rolled down most of the time. I guess it didn't have air conditioning. I just remember the windows were rolled down all the time.
Yeah.
But everyone would recognize this vehicle, and they would wave to him, and they would say, "Hey, Mr. Sidney," and he would wave back. And I just remember feeling like this little celebrity. I was, probably 7 years old, being like, everybody knows him in this vehicle. And they would wave, and I would get excited and wave back. That's kind of my first memory with a vehicle that I think is pretty iconic now. And he kept it for so long, and I wish we still had it. But
right.
after Katrina, and it just kind of sat there, but after Katrina, that along with his house and all of that was washed away. But it would have been a pretty cool thing to be able to, pull the cover off and be like, man, I still have this thing.
Yeah. What a great story. Wow. I have a good friend I grew up with. Her father was in the Philippines, and he came over here and built up a huge successful business. And my friend and her husband, they have a really good successful business. So a lot of aligning thoughts here on this, but what a great story. Yeah. And I would assume then the new Bronco that's come out, I know you guys provide products that work on that. That kind of interests you?
Yeah, it did. And we've got a ton of stuff already out for the Bronco. And we have a lot of stuff in the works still. So it's definitely a fun vehicle to work on and create things for. It's the popularity for it is amazing. And the automotive enthusiast is, these people just want to modify everything on the Bronco, which is our, ideal customer, because we can just keep putting stuff out and they just, give us great feedback and are such an advocate for the brand.
I didn't kind of preview you this on this question, but I want to ask your opinion on something about the upcoming incredible change in the automotive sector, and that is electric vehicles. Do you see that being something that affects your brand in a good way? Do you believe that the onslaught of incoming electric vehicles that are, whether you feel like they're being pushed on us or whatever, they're here. They're probably not going to go anywhere. Do you see that as something that will be a big growth area, or is that just another vehicle like any other vehicle that's going to come along and people that love cars are going to want to do interesting things to them?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little while, but I do think that the aftermarket sector will embrace it. I don't know that they're fully there yet, especially our client base. I don't know that they're excited about it just yet, but I mean, at some point we're going to have no choice, and we're going to look at it as we do with anything else that comes out and see how can we make this better. What are they lacking on in lighting, and where can we make improvements? And we're just going to have to go with it when the time comes.
That wave's coming, not unlike Katrina.
Yes.
You got to just deal with it. So not as terrible, boy, not to make light of that catastrophe. I can't even imagine. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to be a car psychologist today a little bit, crawl into your head. If you were manifest, reincarnated as the vehicle. Now, this isn't what you want to be. This is who you see in the mirror, the lady in the mirror, deep down inside. What would you be, and more importantly, why?
Okay, so when I first hear you saying this question, I wonder if anyone has ever said this, but my first thought is a Formula One car.
A few people, yeah. Everybody would love to be a sleek Formula One car, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Formula One, but
Cool.
I think of like the peak performance of these vehicles. There's nothing else like it. And just the high speed that they're operating at, I relate to that.
No kidding.
But then you also think about that these cars, if these cars were people, they're getting to run on these amazing circuits, and they get to travel the world, and they get to take breaks in between and just be like catered to. And
what a
moved
nice
around
life,
the country.
right?
I would love that.
I never thought about it that way for a Formula One car. Yeah, have you watched the Drive to Survive series?
Yes. Now, we were big fans before that series came out. I know that has driven a lot of new fans, which is amazing, at least in the U.S. But of course, we've watched it, and I love it. We try to go to at least one race every year.
Very cool. Yeah, and this year we've got some great races over here that are coming up, and looking at what they're planning in Las Vegas. Oh my gosh, that city's going to turn into F1 City. But what a better place! They had an F1 race there long ago, and it was just kind of silly. It was in a big parking lot. This is going to be quite different, so I think it'll be pretty cool. You know, I know that successful people, and almost all of them I've met here on this show, always find ways to give back and help others. And I always think of business owners as the supreme givers, meaning they provide opportunities for people to have jobs. And I think you would agree that when people have a job and they can support themselves, they feel really good about themselves versus the alternative. So are there some ways that you guys view your business or yourselves as those who give back, or maybe some other ways that you do more charity or philanthropic ideas?
Yes. So I am a huge advocate for volunteer work, and specifically within SEMA, there are lots of opportunities for this. I am a part of SBN, it's SEMA Business Women's Network, and I'll be moving into their chair-elect position in July. I've been volunteering with them for a few years.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And we are doing so much in the industry, and the other volunteers that I've met have it's been so eye-opening, and I've met so many great people. We're bringing different education series to women. We just last year created the Women's Leadership Forum, which we will be holding annually, and just an opportunity for other women in the automotive industry to come together and get to feel heard and seen and supported. And it's just about building a network of support. And it's women from all different sectors. And, there's women who are painters and engineers and in executive positions in marketing. And I really love being a part of that group. And there are so many other options out there. But I think that volunteering and being a part of a network similar to that is very rewarding. So I'm a huge advocate for that.
Well, it's awesome you're doing that. I've had hundreds of women as guests on the show, and many of them are involved with SEMA, doing lots of different things. And I love to see this. It's fantastic. So bravo to you for fitting that into your life. But SEMA is just an incredible opportunity for so many people in businesses like yours. I had the president of SEMA on the show just last month. And and I've walked those halls 32 times. So
many times.
Worn out many shoes and socks walking that hall. At least it's become more casual. Back in the early days, we all wore suits and it was just, add that. And plus they allowed smoking in the halls and it was like, I can't stand to be around a cigarette. Oh, it was just, it was a little challenging, but bravo to you and all the women doing their hard work at SEMA as part of this network. So I mentioned a great book earlier. Is there a great book that you'd like to share with our listeners?
So the last book that I just finished reading is called Die with Zero. And I read a lot of like leadership books and books about business and trying to always keep myself inspired and, learning new things and ways of doing business. But this one was about realizing, obviously, they say life is short, but really digging into that to say, okay, we're working, we're trying to build wealth and make money and do all of these things, but are we really enjoying it? You can't take it with you, and looking at the people around you and saying, who can I help, with whether it's my time or whether it's some kind of, somebody's in financial need or bringing people on experiences with you and spending your money in a way that you're enjoying it. Because why else are we doing this if we're not enjoying our life? And why wait? There's so many places that I have on my to-do list to travel to, but I'm not waiting to go on these things until I can say like, oh, I've retired and now's my time to do it, because who knows at what age I'm going to make it to, or, I'm never going to be, I'm 39 right now. I'm never going to be 39 again. And I feel like I can move around really well. And I want to take advantage of that, enjoy my life while I can. We recently took our kids to Egypt in January.
Oh, wow.
And, it's just trying to live while I can, and be happy and so that's what the book is about, but it was really good.
Yeah, Bill Perkins is the author of that book, and the subheading is "Getting All You Can." Getting all you can from your money and your life. I think that's how it goes. But it's a wonderful book, and some people that I know the title has scared some people away. Like, well, don't you want to like leave something for your heirs, your kids? But that's not what the book's about. No. It's really about living your life. So I'm glad you recommended that book. It's one that everybody should read. I'm thinking about being 39. That seems like a long time ago. Oh my goodness. So young. But time is fleeting. And if anything COVID taught us is you're not promised tomorrow. So get out there and live your life. Get your hands on this book. Very cool. So before I let you go today, I'm a bit of an enabler here, but it's a fun enable. I'm going to provide you with any vehicle in the world. If you want me to bring back Grandpa's truck, that Bronco, I can do that. We've got the magic wallet here at Cars Yeah. You can take the car anywhere, and you can take anybody with you, even somebody from the past who's no longer with us. So what does the ultimate drive look like for a fast-moving lady like you?
Good question. So at first I want to pick like a really fast car for this.
A Formula One car?
But
it's Spa, maybe?
I don't think, I think my answer might actually be the Bronco that we built for SEMA would be the car that I would pick, and you wouldn't have to manifest that for me because I already have it.
Nice.
But I would love the experience of taking my grandfather in this new Bronco and taking him out off-roading in somewhere beautiful, like maybe Moab or some place that he never got to experience, and just get to see his grin in like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I think that would be pretty awesome. And he had so many experiences in his life that he did try to, tell me his story when I was younger, but I only listened to so much of it. But now as an adult, if I could have that time with him to just learn more about the challenges that he faced in coming here and building a business. I could speak to any business owner for hours and ask a million questions until they're like, okay, too much of you. You've asked too many questions. Because I'm so interested in it genuinely as an adult. I think it's so amazing when someone can create something that it fascinates me. But to have that experience with him, to learn as an immigrant, how did you handle that coming here alone with no money and building a business? That opportunity would be pretty awesome. And then to see his cute little smile seeing the Bronco that I have now.
Oh, that would be magical for sure. But yeah, it's, older people that have been around and done that, especially people that, came to the United States with a dream to create something and they pulled it off. I'm just in awe of. It's just absolutely incredible. So hats off to your grandpa and that dream. That would be pretty darn cool. You have taken us on a very fun drive today, and I can't thank you enough for spending time with me and sharing what you're doing there at Oracle Lighting. Before I let you go, could you share some words of inspiration, wisdom, a success quote or a mantra perhaps?
So I feel like there's a quote that I go back to often when I feel kind of beat down or heavy. And it's Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena. And I won't read it. Don't worry, because it's long.
It is, yeah.
But I have a copy of it printed on my desk, and we'll pull it out sometimes and just read it when I need that pick me up. And just that reminder not to let other people who are not attempting to build something great, not to let those people take my focus away. It's the people that sit on the sidelines criticizing, but are not attempting to do anything. Those are the people that should not be in my line of sight. They're there. I can acknowledge it and move on from it. So sometimes that's the one that kind of picks me back up. And I'm like, man, this president, can you imagine Teddy Roosevelt, all the things that the criticism of anyone in that high level has to deal with? If they can still be successful and run a country, then I can run the company and go through the same thing,
Yeah. Folks like that have rhino hide for skin. I just, I take too much personally sometimes, and I have to stop and go, did that really matter? I mean,
right.
I remember the first criticism I got when I started this podcast, and I didn't know what I was doing. And it still stands out to me today. And it's like, oh, why am I letting that bother me so much? And then I found out that gentleman, he goes around and does that to everybody. That's kind of his shtick, is just sticking it. I have a feeling he probably is not building anything, but at least that makes me feel a little bit better. But Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena, I'll put links to that. For those of you who have not heard it, please go to Tiffanie show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. I'll have a link there so you can read it, and perhaps it can end up on your desk as well. How can people learn more about Oracle Lighting?
Well, you can go to our website, oraclelights.com, and we're on social media everywhere, Oracle Lighting. You can just search us on Instagram, Facebook, and we're there. We're on LinkedIn. We're here and ready to talk to anyone that's got questions, and send us pictures. We love seeing pictures from people who have our products as well. We're constantly resharing them on social media. So please reach out with us, engage with us. We love that.
Listeners, check them out. If you are not aware of Oracle Lighting, I'll put links to it, but it's easy to find. Oracle Lighting. Oracle Lights, is that right? OracleLights.com?
OracleLights.com.
Lights. Okay. I always want to put the ING there, but you'll find them. They're easy to find. I like your name too, and the meaning behind Oracle and everything. That works out really cool. We didn't talk about that, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And a quick shout out to my friends at Con Media, specifically Eric Becker, who got us together today. So Eric, thank you for bringing Tiffanie to Cars Yeah. Brought me another great stellar star. Tiffanie, thanks for being so generous today with your time and your expertise. My hat's off to you and the team there for what you guys are building. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road or probably at a SEMA show.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. This was great.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.